What are stories? A mirror, a map, and sometimes medicine. Come, let us tell you stories of Cameroonian innovators, builders, and dreamers who prove that true success abroad is measured by the change it inspires back home. In these stories, the spirit of Cameroon meets the promise of America. Two worlds joined by passion, vision, and unity. From Cameroon to the United States, the journey is more than miles. It's a mission. I'm Patience Embelle from Yen. This is Diaspora Stories, where Cameroonian grit goes global. Welcome. From the village of Nkwen to the Hall of Fame in America, Dr. Fobi transformed the world of bariatric surgery with groundbreaking innovations. Yet, his greatest impact may be the lives he's shaping, mentoring young Cameroonian doctors to dream beyond borders. With Dr. Fobi, Cameroonian grit and excellence knows no borders.
I want the fat person to feel accepted in society, but we want to treat fat as a medical problem rather than a cosmetic problem.
The surgeon that changed my life, Dr. Fobi.
Dr. Fobi, Dr. Mathias Fobi.
Dr. Fobi is the recipient of awards from the World Bank, the International College of Surgeons, the NAACP, the International Visitors Council of Los Angeles, and the International Bariatric Surgery Registry.
The stomach normally holds about this much in liquid, 50 ounces. But with the Fobi pouch, the body will only hold about this much, 1 ounce. That means patients like Jerry get full on a tiny amount of food and can lose up to 40 pounds per month.
In 1975, many people didn't believe surgery could help with extreme obesity. Some of the surgeries done at that time were risky and often failed. But a young doctor at King Drew UCLA Medical Center decided to take a new approach. He diligently followed the instructions of a special telex message from Dr. Edward Mason, a respected American surgeon, on a safer way to do weight loss surgery, and the results were amazing. Step by step, he changed everything. He didn't just operate, he built a full support system offering care before surgery, counseling afterward, and education for doctors who wanted to learn. World over, he was recognized and celebrated for the most effective revisions in bariatric care through the Fobi Pouch. He launched America's first clinic devoted solely to obesity surgery. The Center for Surgical Treatment, a safe haven for patients, and in Hollywood, the stars loved him.
I'm glad I feel good now. I'm glad I look better. I'm nobody's beauty queen, but I feel like the ultimate queen inside.
Marie weighed 586 pounds 9 months ago and is now down to 399. For Marie...
A fashion show was held in Long Beach, California to celebrate these former obese patients' success in shedding hundreds of pounds. Emery Lee Hargraves of Los Angeles never thought she'd be strutting her stuff. She's lost more than 200 pounds.
I lost over 120 pounds, and my life is definitely not the same. I'm 100% thankful and confident about my life.
Okay, I started out 768 pounds. I've lost and maintained over 500 pound weight loss. It's been 6 years since I had my surgery. I would do this again in a heartbeat. Dr. Fobi saved my life. I'm living on borrowed time now. Had I not had surgery, I'd be dead already.
Jennifer Holliday also did it, and she lost over 200 pounds. Look at that. What exactly did they do? Well, it's a controversial weight loss procedure called gastric bypass. And the latest famous name to go to this extreme measure is American Idol's Randy Jackson, tipping the scales at 329 pounds. He's been overweight his entire life, but it was his recent diagnosis with diabetes that forced him to take extreme measures.
I was afraid that if I didn't really get healthy and do something drastic, that I may not be around that long. Before the surgery, I couldn't have been able to do this at all. See, I'm gonna have guns like this one day. One day.
4 decades of accolades and multiple awards, Dr. Fobi is inducted to the American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery's Hall of Fame. An honor and a full circle in the foundation he'd presided and within which he'd shaped policies that still govern the field today.
I really appreciate it. You know, when you do things in life, you don't work towards being honored. So, especially for me who is retired, for them to call me and induct me into the Societal Inaugural Hall of Fame. I'm there with Dr. Mason, the other guy who started bariatric surgery. So it's an honor to be recognized by your own colleagues. I mean, at this meeting there are 4,000 surgeons, and I've served as their president, and I've served as the president of the International Federation. So when they can turn around and say, you deserve an honor, you take it. You've been put into history. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You are not, it's not something, I'm not going to put this on my resume to get a job or go anywhere.
Yes.
But immortalizing your efforts. So basically what will happen is any younger person who sees that is going to say, why is he in the Hall of Fame? Then they can read about you and find out about you. So I hope that would motivate other young people, African Americans, Cameroonians, Africans, to say they can rise up to that level where they're recognized.
Before the honors came the humble beginnings. Somewhere in Nkwen, northwest of Cameroon, born Mathias Asongwe Fobi in 1946, he was the 7th child of Vincent Tamfu Fobi, a farmer, and Barbara Getche Fobi, a homemaker. His father noticed he had a gift for cutting clothes and hoped his son would become a tailor. He wasn't entirely wrong. His son would indeed excel at cutting, though not clothes, but fat.
I mean, most people say we live in the city. We're in the Bamenda area. But Abakwatan was there, and we were there in Bayele, which was a suburb. My parents were mainly farmers. He had a palm bush that he used to go and tap palm wine. My mother had a farm, and they together, you know how women arrange to go and farm your farm, and then that's what they did. And then they had crops which they harvested. We sold some of them in the market. We help in the farm as needed, especially during the harvest season. So you had an environment where there was a lot of love. You know, you didn't feel, you had neighbors whom you can go to their house and just be with their kids, and their kids can come to your house. So it was a very friendly environment. We didn't have all what we have these days, but at that time we didn't know we were lacking anything. Yes.
There was a sense of contentment.
Absolutely. You know, you didn't feel deprived. You didn't feel like you were poor, you know.
Young Mal's childhood was shaped with the discipline, grit, and tenacity he learned in the classrooms of the Roman Catholic Mission School of Nkwen and the dormitories of the Sacred Heart College in Nkwen as one of the pioneer students.
Even in primary school, I had excelled, you know, from Infants 1, I don't know where I was, but from Infants 2, then Standard 1 to Standard 6, I was always first in class. So I didn't know any other position but that. So when I went to Sacred Heart, I was always a couple of chapters ahead of my colleagues. So we had in the old days, we had a book called Lacombs, who did mathematics. They'll be doing the first chapter, I'll review the first chapter, second, third, did all the problems in the back. So by the time they're talking in class, I was kind of a nerd, if you know what that is. So I only realized that now when we're talking in the sense, but I was one of those kids that was like a bookworm.
Yes.
Everything that came, they gave us Shakespeare to read. The other guys, we'll read one chapter, yes, we'll read chapter 2 tomorrow. I get it and sit back in the back of the dormitory and read the whole thing. And when they talk about it, I just listen, you know. I never found much challenging. I always had an ability to conquer anything that was mental, but I was not as physical. My friends were good in soccer, table tennis, basketball. I played at them, but that was not my forte. My forte was intellectual pursuit in mathematics, in literature, in English, in French. I used to sit there and listen to the radio so I can recite what they were saying in Radio Gabon. I could go sit there and just listen all morning, and then I come and just sit down and repeat to them what they said in the news.
Okay.
You know, but that's life. I never had all my friends looked up to me. When you talk to them though,
yes.
When they had a problem, they'll call Mal, how do you do this math problem? Let's meet here, you know. When I came, I was alone with 9 papers in 1965.
Wow.
Most people were having 4 papers in the GE. So I took, because there was no class. See, by the 3rd year, you had those who wanted to do science and those who wanted to do art. I was doing all of them.
Okay.
And I was about the best in all of them. So I didn't see why I shouldn't take the exam.
Yes.
I didn't take one subject, which was geography, because it conflicted with Latin. And we're told that Latin was important.
Okay.
And so I said, let me take Latin, because I don't see what geography will do for me as much. But that's why I didn't take geography. But otherwise, I would have taken all 10 papers.
His brilliance earned a scholarship at the then famous Lovanium University in Kinshasa, Belgian Congo, but this opportunity was quickly lost due to discrimination and favoritism within the system.
We got into a point where there was one school in Cameroon, was College of Arts, Science and Technology, and that was the highest institution. So I was there, and then they recruited me to go to Lovanium. And when I left there to go to Lovanium, I couldn't go because Mrs. Embelle wanted some kids from the south of the country to go. And then those from Bamenda were sent back. I got mad, I refused to go. So I stayed in Boya, and I worked in the accounting department.
Okay.
And 2 months later, I got the scholarship to go to America.
Wow.
She tried to stop me again, but unfortunately, Americans said this guy had 100% in the test. If we can't take him, then we can't take anybody else. So that's how I ended up in America. So anytime somebody stops you, it might not be that they're bad for you, it just means that God is redirecting you and putting obstacles in your way here, and that allows you to go in another way.
In 1966, a new opportunity emerged, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to study in the United States of America through the SPOW Scholarship Program.
I left Cameroon on August the 3rd. I got to the States August 5th, 1966. We were taken to an orientation campus. There were about 150 Africans who came, 10 of us from Cameroon, 8 boys and 2 girls. You know, I came in the fall, and a month later it started snowing. You know, when you leave Bamenda,
yes.
when it's hot and dry and dusty. But I went out and saw the snow. You know, you read about snow. You know, I read a lot of books, but I never knew what it was. So I went out and saw the flakes coming down. Then I came back in all frostbitten.
Yeah.
So it took a while to get used to it. When I first came here, we felt we were going to university, so we were all dressed up. We weren't dressed up and go to school. The kids were all in the casuals, you know.
Yes.
Then, but with time, you gradually adjust and became casual. Then you started buying the warm coats with the hoods, the gloves, the mitts, and buying the shoes appropriately. And everything changes. We went for a 2 weeks orientation in Vermont, where they taught us about the American system, what to avoid, what to do, what to expect. Told us how people were friendly. They had certain things they said which nowadays I don't like, but I know they were telling me what it was. They said I should be careful about the blacks. They might rob you, they might do things to you. And be careful about what neighborhood you're going to. Even though if I talk later, my experience with going to the black neighborhood, they welcomed me as a brother and a sister. But you have to see they were talking to us as whites. But as I said, the food was different. The food was bland, not tasty.
Yes.
So it took me quite a bit to get used to it. They didn't have Maggi and all the stew like we could make food.
Yes, our spices.
Yeah, with, you know, mashed potatoes, grilled steak or barbecue chicken, and then have a little bit of gravy on the side.
Yes.
But with time, you get used to it.
When more than 30 African countries gained independence in the early 1960s, most of them faced a shortage of qualified manpower to implement their new national projects. Higher education for Africans was one of the key issues for the continent's development. This led to the African Scholarship Program of American Universities, also known as ASPAO. Together with the African Graduate Fellowship Program, over 4,000 young people from 45 African countries studied in the United States of America from 1961 until the 90s. A young Mal was one of the students selected to study under this scholarship program in 1966.
When I came, my intention was to study medicine. But America didn't have a medical system where you can come from high school and go and study medicine. So I didn't want to just do a pre-medical course because it required that you specialize in either biology, chemistry, biochemistry, and then go on to medicine. If I did that and I didn't go into medicine, then I'll have to go back to Cameroon and all thing I would do is teach because there was nothing I could do with it. So I didn't want to. So I wanted to have a profession. So I decided I'll do pharmacy. At the same time, taking all the pre-medical school prerequisites. And if I didn't end up going to medical school, I was a pharmacist. I finished pharmacy school. I was allowed to do 1 year of internship. Then when I started the internship, I got admitted to medical school.
Okay.
So I went to medical school, and so my visa status was extended because I went to medical school. And while I was on that, when I finished medical school, you have to do an internship. But there was nothing, just an internship. So I went into a 5-year residency. So that visa status continued.
Yes.
And then, as a matter of fact, there was need of doctors. So the institutions were trying to get me to change my status because they wanted to retain me on the faculty. Because they couldn't just keep you on the faculty with a J1 visa. So that's the first time I decided to get a green card. So I finally got a green card in 1980 when I was teaching. But I still wanted to go back to Cameroon. The white society, they don't realize that they are prejudiced. They just don't expect you to be smart. They don't expect you to do anything good. When I first came, my first few years in school, every time we had a test, every kid in the class wanted to run up, and there were 2 of us black, to see what we did. And it was like, I saw a big disappointment in their face.
What were they expecting?
Well, you do a chemistry exam and the score is from A to D, you know. A is 95 and above, B is 90 to 90. When they come and see you have an 8, they kind of expected you to be dull.
Okay.
So in the School of Pharmacy, it took them a while to finally accept that I had the intellectual ability to beat them.
No amount of discomfort or racism could stop him from excelling academically. He sailed through his studies, completing a 5-year pharmacy program in just 4 years in Michigan, and earning a medical degree in Cincinnati in only 3 years. The young man from Cameroon was a true prodigy, but his passion for surgery sparked while at a clinical rotation back in his homeland, Cameroon.
I went to Cameroon in 1973 after I finished medical school to find out what was the best area for me to specialize in. So when I went there, I spent 4 months in Bolowa and Embelle. And I worked with the doctors there. Then I realized that to be a good doctor in Cameroon, you have to be a surgeon. Because that's the only person that can take care of everything. Not only can you prescribe, but you can do operations, you can do head surgery, neck surgery, orthopedic, that's what they call a general surgery.
Yes.
That's why I came back to specialize. So when I came, I was recruited. I was King Drew Medical Center. Since I was in the top 2 percentile, the doctor came and recruited me and said, well, he wants black doctors to be trained here, so when they finish, they can come and head up the various departments. That's how I ended up at King Drew. So the guy that was very proactive, had foresight, so he was getting us involved in research and everything to prepare us so that will be the next generation of black doctors to run things.
On return to the United States of America, he began a surgical residency in Los Angeles. It was there that a patient changed his practice from duty to divine assignment.
The first case that stayed with me is the first case I did. A lady came to see us. She says, Dr. Fobi, when I was 347 pounds, nobody looked at me. I couldn't go out and shop in a regular shop. I couldn't sit down and cross my leg like everybody does. I couldn't bend down and pick things from the floor. On Saturdays, all my sisters would bring the kids to the house because they knew I couldn't go out and dance, so I would be the one to babysit. So she educated me as to the complications of being morbidly obese. And I just sat there and I listened. And so I became more empathetic about the problems of the fat person. I saw beyond what the average person sees. And so when she said once she had gotten this surgery and gotten down to 139 pounds, now she could put on her red blouse, her black skirt, her high heels, and the boys were looking. And she has a life. She told me things like, you know, if you go out to eat, a young, pretty girl like you would come through, fill up her plate with food. Nobody will look at the plate, they'll be looking at her, oh, she's nice. But when you're fat, if you put just a little bit on your plate, everybody's looking at your plate as if you shouldn't eat.
That was the day he understood why he was in America and the trail he was meant to blaze.
I didn't know anything about obesity, and what we knew was what everybody else knew. We thought that people who were fat were people who were lazy.
That's true.
They had psychological problems. They were overeaters. So in 1975, a lady came to see us who had had intestinal bypass. That surgery made people lose weight by giving them what is called a short gut syndrome. That means they go into your intestines and they cut it and they connect it. So it's like snakes and ladders. You bypass everything. So they didn't absorb the food. And so they end up having liquid stools and malabsorption. And then they lost weight because of the malabsorption. But that surgery came with complications. And a lot of fat people were willing to have those complications because it was better being, you can be there, you can have the surgery, you're skinny, you're pretty, you can wear a nice dress and nobody knows that you're having problems. You're the only one that knows, and if you feel sick, you can always go to the bathroom and then come back and nobody knows. But when you're fat and you're sitting there, everybody can see you. And I was able to convince the lady to let us reverse her intestinal bypass and give her the gastric bypass. I had never done it. I don't know how I convinced her, but sitting down with that woman and talking, she opened my eye into a new field. And when I did her surgery and she was successful, maintained the weight loss, that was the window for me and my doctor. When it came out in the papers that the doctor had somebody who had lost from 280 to 180 in 8 months, the line to my clinic doubled.
From his first gastric bypass surgery, he launched the Center for Surgical Treatment of Obesity, the first of its kind in the United States of America. Then came the masterstroke, the invention of the Fobi Pouch, the Fobi ring, tools that revolutionized weight loss. Imagine your stomach is like a big balloon that stretches when you eat. For people struggling with severe obesity, that can make it hard to feel full or lose weight. Dr. Mal Fobi came up with a solution called the Fobi Pouch. This pouch helped patients feel full faster and eat less. But he didn't stop there. Over time, the small pouch could stretch again, so he added a Fobi ring, a soft band placed around the pouch to prevent it from getting bigger. The result? Better long-term weight loss, fewer complications, and a surgery that gave thousands of people a real second chance.
Hollywood celebrities loved it. From actress Roseanne Barr, legendary singer Etta James, as well as musician Randy Jackson, singer Jennifer Holliday, and television actress Jo Mary Payton. From the rich and famous to the everyday man, Dr. Fobi's medical innovation made their lives happier and healthier. The idea was simple yet powerful. Make the stomach smaller and make sure the results last. Yet Dr. Fobi's solution was misunderstood and resistance came with lawsuits.
The average person is prejudiced against the fat person in America. Just give and take. It's a society where everybody wants to be skinny and cute and everything. So there's that prejudice. Then a black person claiming that he can treat these people. So at a time when nobody thought this was working, I was a black doctor there telling this is the best thing to do. And so, the white guy said, look at him, he's a quack. But intellectually, I knew it worked. I could see my results. So whatever they called me, whatever they did not really affect me mentally. But it caused a certain bit of rethinking. Especially if you had any complication, you were automatically sued. I mean, they don't look at the great work you did. They think that you had a complication because as a black man, you were not a competent surgeon. So I got a lot of lawsuits. I mean, I even had lawsuits in the beginning when people lost a lot of weight because they say, oh, they're losing so much weight, they're going to die. Now it is the accepted thing. So at that time, to get somebody from 300 pounds to 160 pounds, people say you couldn't do it. And when you did it, they say, oh, he's going to die. Later on, they found nobody died. So I had a lot of suits, but I never had much settlement because lawsuits in America take 2 or 3 years to go through.
Okay.
So when a patient comes and gets this surgery and loses 80, 90 pounds, the relative says she's going to die, a lawyer takes up the case, they come and file a claim against you at the hospital, and then they start going through the court process, 6 months, 1 year, by 18 months, the patient is still alive, doing fine. By 2 years, the patient has nothing to testify against. But it is there on your record that you got sued. One case where we had to settle, when I started the Fobi Pouch with the ring I'm talking about, I had to settle, the case was settled for $800,000, but they found me guilty of using the device and causing too much weight loss, which was nonsense. The patient came from 280 pounds to 100 pound weight loss, which was not the best results I get normally. But the way it was presented was that I had invented this device and used it, and that is why she lost too much weight. She looked like somebody from a concentration camp. And I said, no, that is normal, but they had experts from the university who said that weight loss is too much, too fast. And being an arrogant surgeon at that time, I knew they didn't know what they were talking about. So when the guy walks in and says, I'm a professor at UCLA, I teach doctors. And what this doctor did to make this weight loss is too fast, and this patient might die. So the next day it was supposed to come out in the news. Guess what happened that day?
What?
O.J. Simpson, he had killed his wife and the boyfriend, and they had him on a chase.
Yes.
So that evening, the story was supposed to come on the news that the famous Dr. Fobi has been sued for malpractice. That news just died under the...
Despite his clinical success, U.S. regulators denied Food and Drug Administration's approval for the Fobi ring, listing insufficient data. The dark times weren't limited to the United States of America. Dr. Ma, always passionate about giving back to his homeland through investment, faced repeated setbacks. Leading to a loss of nearly 1 billion francs CFA.
I always planned to go back.
Yes.
So I went back. Whenever I went back, I tried to see what I could do. But my first investment was investing in the children. I made sure I had a scholarship fund that guaranteed any descendants of the Fobi family to go on to the university. The first set of them came to America. The next set of them who couldn't come because the visa status changed went to the University of Boya, Yaoundé, Chang, and they all had scholarships. They all got like 300,000 francs a year to go to university. Number two, I started trying to invest in real estate. I bought some land, and then I had people who wanted me to be involved in the making bricks in Cameroon. I got involved in the Talk Le Bus et le Car project. I put $500,000 into Le Bus et le Car. And if you read that summary, the Spotlight Award, that's when I had the company match $25,000 to Sesha because I was one of the main investors for that project. But the bus and the car died. I went back to Cameroon, I couldn't see it. I was part of a group there called the Monopoly Group at Pa Nanga's house in Bamenda. I had 3 million francs invested there because they were lending out money. But when Pa Nanga died, I went back, I couldn't find anything. I opened the school in Bamenda. It went from Form 1 to Upper 6. Management flunked. I had the first poultry farm in Bamenda. My brother was providing day-old chicks and eggs to Manfebe, Hilton, and everything. But when he died, there was nobody to take over the project, so the project finally waived. I was the first major investor in Amity Bank. Amity Bank was founded by my friend Tasha. He came and saw me. I put in 10 million francs. At that time, the franc was 250 francs per dollar, not like 500 now. So 10 million was multiplied that times 4. That was $40,000 investment. Then he called me and said, well, we need to get up to a 100 something. I added another 21 million francs to that. So it was a total of 31 million. So at one point I had 10% of Amity Bank. Then I came and sat here and I was busy. He was sending me reports. We now have a branch in Douala. We have a branch in Yaoundé. We now have a branch in Tico. We now have a branch in Bamenda. And I said, okay, that's great. Then the next day I heard he and Bongam was fighting about the bank. And when I went there, the bank was liquidated. And I said, where's my money? They said, well, I have to go and talk to the government. I went and saw lawyer Sama. He says, well, he would take the case. I said, but am I the only investors? So he wanted 5 million to take the case. I said, I've already lost 31 million. You want me to give you 5 million to take the case? And I don't know whether you're going to succeed. So I just walked away. Then I started sending things home, like Bamenda General Hospital. I sent operating room beds and everything, and to the PMI. If you go to the PMI Nkwen, you're going to see this award there. When I came there and saw women were delivering babies and lying on the floor, I said, I'll make you a maternity ward. So those are things I did. I used to send a lot of containers. My wife went home at least 4 or 5 times if you get to talk to her. But I realized that that was not making a permanent change. You know, it's like you go and give people food when they're hungry, then what happens to them tomorrow? So I started saying I have to do something more meaningful. I sponsored SDF for that election. I spent almost $250,000 for this SDF election. And I worked with John, but ultimately we couldn't get along because I told him, don't go for the presidency, go for what needs to be changed. That's why we call it the Union for Change. Let's push for schools, push for roads. Let BS sit up there. But when he got up there, he wanted to become president. And that was the downfall. So if you want to be president, BA is going to do everything to stop you.
Yeah.
So we did not get the change we were trying to get. And then he never became president.
Unrelenting, he served as a mentor to hundreds of doctors, especially Cameroonians in the United States of America, where he offered jobs and guidance. He co-founded the Association of Cameroonian Physicians in the Americas as a mission to connect diasporic minds to homegrown needs.
I know there were doctors here who want to give back.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that we have our expertise is available to the doctors. Cameroonians who come here, we have a program where we help them get into the medical field. We had them go into the training program. We have them work with us. I started that program back in 1984-85. They came in my office and they worked there, and then I helped them take the exam. Now ACPA does that. We have a training, they call it a boot camp for Cameroon doctors. Okay. It's gotten so good that some other African doctors want to come and join the boot camp. We have a lot of experts, and they can go home for 2 weeks in Cameroon and teach a course. And as long as we have it, we can transfer knowledge to Cameroon. Then I realized that if you get a doctor out of Cameroon to come here and specialize, they're not going back. I mean, you have to be an idiot to go back. The average doctor today is making 200,000 francs a month. That's what I pay my secretary. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
A week.
Yes.
So a doctor who comes here, even if he works as a security guard, he's not going to go back. So we figure that we have a lot of experts, and they can go home for 2 weeks in Cameroon and teach a course. And as long as we have it, we can transfer knowledge to Cameroon. Then there's the other group, like me, who are retired. I know about 10 or 15 of us who in the United States now are retired, who are doctors.
Yes.
We can go back now for longer periods of time rather than 2 weeks. Like when I go back this time, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for 3 months when I go back at the Catholic University in Bamenda. What I could do for them during 3 months. And I'm not asking them to pay me. I'm not looking for a salary. You know what I'm saying?
Building bridges of care and compassion together with his wife, Dr. Ma created the Bobe Gwebifor Foundation, a not-for-profit which provided scholarships to students who have difficulties with the financial support to pursue their secondary education. Hundreds of children have benefited from this initiative. The foundation provided books, medical supplies, and clothing to those in need in local schools, hospitals, and prisons. His investments continued in Nkwen, his place of origin, where he created the Hosanna Bilingual Academy.
If you can build an embankment, you prevent the accident. You can let the accident handle and you have a fantastic ambulance service, 10 ambulance service to take him to the hospital. That is it. So prevention is better than cure. So that is the biggest thing I've learned. The main regrets I have about is my kids. I wish I had sent them to Cameroon when they were young, because they were born and raised in America, and I know that kids that have spent at least secondary school in Cameroon, when they get here, they're more grounded than the kids here. Their ambition is different. Because I look at my niece and nephews who did high school in Cameroon and I brought them here. They're going places. My kids are more like typical American kids. Whether you know it, less than 35% of American kids go on to college education. Because the lifestyle here. Whereas the kids that come from Cameroon, they are getting bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate degree, and everything. But that is based on the stimulation you got at home. And I see that my friends who send their kids to Cameroon, like back to Sacred Heart, and they finished Sacred Heart, came here, they did very well. But at that time, I didn't really have anybody whom I could send the kids to. These people had relatives who were in Yaoundé and Douala and Bamenda with their amenities. Because the kids here, you can't take kids here and go and have them start using a pit latrine at home. But those who had families who had like a regular house and sent the kids to stay with them, and then they went to boarding school and came home, the kids learned the mannerism. They got the discipline from our schools that the kids here don't get in the schools. That's the only regret, but otherwise, no, yeah. If I can make one person smile today, that's what I teach everybody. Don't give people accolades. Pat somebody in the back. Tell this guy you're doing a great job. It costs you nothing, but you have somebody living with a sense of well-being. And I found out that does a lot for people. And I know whenever time people compliment me, I feel good. So I share that very easily. I used to be like, look, trying to solve too many problems. I've learned what they say, know what you can change, know what you cannot change, and know the difference. So it took me a while to get that feeling. But before that, I was like, I can get worked up and just keep going. For days, if I have a project, I just keep going like a horse. And then I get worn out. Two things I live with. If I have anything to do today, I get it done today. I don't procrastinate. If I do anything, I do it to my best. I don't settle for mediocrity. If it doesn't come out right, I do what I can to make it as best as I can.
Dr. Fobi was given a chance and he turned it into a legacy. He proved that excellence has no border, that brilliance can rise from anywhere, especially the red earth of a Cameroonian village. Dr. Fobi reminds us that brilliance knows no birthplace and legacy is measured by the lives you lived. If you would like us to tell your story, contact us here. Thank you for watching Diaspora Stories, where Cameroonian grit goes global. I'm Patience Embelle. Goodbye.